The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, a Los Angeles mother admits to killing her 3 children in a lengthy and emotional one-on-one interview in a Kern County jail. Why she says she did it, coming up.
Plus, breaking overnight, a mass shooting at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis, ending with when police say the gunman killed himself. What we know so far.
Plus, how 2 Olympians went from competing in the games to brewing local beers at Kern River Brewery. They're sharing their story and how they'll be involved in this summer's Olympics. This is Friday, April 16th, 2021. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher on a Finally Friday.
It is Finally Friday. We have a lot of news to get to. First, though, we have our chief meteorologist, Alyssa Carlson, in studio this morning with a look at our Finally Friday forecast as we head into the weekend. Good morning, Alyssa.
Good morning. I missed you so much yesterday.
I have
the
not
day
seen
before.
you in months.
I know.
It has been a long time.
I'm coming in. Let's just see them. Okay. This morning, temperatures in the 50s and not quite as cold as what we have seen. So looking at 54 degrees right now. And let's take a look at these readings here. 40s over into the Kern River Valley. 41, meanwhile, in Fraser Park near Tehachapi, and looking at 41 degrees there. But lower 50s, and at least we're out of the 30s in most of the mountain locations. We're still looking here at clear skies. A few high thin clouds will work on through, and we're starting to see a reversal of that onshore flow. Meanwhile, a little bit of winds down into the Grapevine, and I don't think we'll see anything too terribly windy today. As we head throughout the day, a gorgeous one. Temperatures around 77 degrees at 3 o'clock, and in the mountains we will be in the mid-60s. Much more on the weekend ahead in Pinpoint Weather.
All right, Alyssa, thanks so much. This morning we begin with breaking news of a mass shooting at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis. At least 8 people were killed, plus the gunman, who police say shot himself. Police say the shooting happened after 11 p.m. at the FedEx facility near the Indianapolis airport. When police arrived at the scene, they came in contact with the shooter.
After a preliminary search of the grounds, inside and out, we have located 8 people at the scene with injuries consistent to gunshot wounds. Those 8 were pronounced deceased here at the scene. We have been made aware of multiple other people with injuries who have been transported to local hospitals or who have transported themselves to local hospitals.
Indianapolis police say the gunman killed himself. The motive for the shooting is still unclear. Meantime, FedEx released a statement early this morning saying their thoughts are with those affected.
Your time now is 5:03, and now to a heartbreaking story. During a lengthy one-on-one interview with 17's Aton Wallace yesterday, the suspect in a horrific Los Angeles murder admitted she killed her 3 children. Aton joins us live in studio this morning with that woman's admission. Aton.
Maddie, I spoke to Liliana Carrillo at the Lerdo facility for nearly a half hour. The main takeaway, Carrillo says she killed her 3 young children last Saturday. During the emotional interview in both English and Spanish, Carrillo broke down in tears, saying she drowned her children to protect them from their father. She believes the father is involved in human trafficking.
To be clear, did you kill your children?
I did.
Why?
Because I didn't want them to be further abused.
Do you regret your actions?
I wish my kids were alive, yes. Do I wish that I didn't have to do that? Yes, but I prefer them not being tortured and abused on a regular basis for the rest of their life.
Authorities say the children's grandmother had called police last Saturday morning after she discovered the children dead at the apartment in Reseda. They were ages 3, 2, and 6 months. Kern prosecutors say later in the day, Carrillo drove through Kern County where she allegedly carjacked at least 1 person, then was arrested in Tulare County in the community of Ponderosa. She pleaded not guilty to the carjacking-related charges on Wednesday. Now, Liliana Carrillo has not been formally charged in the murder of her 3 children in L.A. Coming up in the next half hour of Sunrise, a full breakdown of our interview and what the father says he tried to do to get help for Liliana Carrillo in the weeks before the children died. So Very tragic story, very emotional.
Very complex story here that we've been following since it broke over the weekend. You got the exclusive interview with Liliana Carrillo. What was it like sitting down with her, talking to her about this? It seemed as though she did not hesitate in answering your questions.
That's right, Alex. You know, she was very calm throughout much of the interview. She immediately approached me in the very beginning in shackles. She said, "Hello, Mr. Wallace, take your seat." From there on, very calm, both me and her just had a conversation. In English, again, this is a bilingual interview. So in English, for the first 30 minutes, she definitely, for the most part, did not hesitate to answer any of the questions. You heard it there. Then we transitioned to Spanish, asked her almost the same questions. Asked her, did she kill her children? At that point, she said in Spanish, she did not want to answer that question. So
she hesitated during the Spanish interview?
Yes, and that was later on. That was maybe about 40 minutes or so into the interview. That was the second portion of it, if you will. So the first 30 minutes were English, then we transitioned to Spanish. Of course, our sister station is Telemundo via Central. So that is why we also conducted this interview in Spanish.
All right, Todd, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Your full report coming up in 30 minutes. 5:06 now, and got your COVID vaccine? That's great, but you may need another one. Pfizer's CEO says after being fully vaccinated, you may need a booster within a year and every year after that.
Tracy Potts has that story, plus people getting COVID despite getting the vaccine.
Maddie and Alex, good morning. It's not completely unexpected that some people, a few of them, would get sick with the virus after getting the vaccine. They were never said to be 100% effective, even after a second or now maybe even a third dose. Get ready for a third Pfizer shot.
There will be likely a need for a third dose somewhere between 6 and 12 months, and then from there will be an annual revaccination.
Moderna is also working on a booster that may be combined with the flu vaccine. The White House says even with Johnson & Johnson's one-dose vaccine on hold, there's plenty available.
Because we are overprepared and oversupplied, we remain confident in that.
The nation's top health experts in a testy exchange on Capitol Hill about the impact of the pandemic.
What measures have to be attained before Americans get their First Amendment liberties back?
We're not talking about liberties. We're talking about a pandemic that has killed 560,000 Americans.
The only way we're going to get out of this, especially with this increase in variants, sir, is to get people vaccinated.
But the CDC reports 5,800 people, a small fraction, who got vaccinated later got COVID.
I was in bed very sick, just sleeping all day. I had to cancel all my work phone calls.
They're going to have mild illness, maybe moderate illness, and should be able to recover at home.
That's far better protection than the flu shot, but still worrisome for a nation where most adults are still unprotected. As for the boosters, scientists are trying to figure out if you'll need to get the same brand of vaccine as your original shot. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
Now for the latest on the coronavirus pandemic here in Kern County. And yesterday, Public Health announced 5 more deaths. One of the new deaths reported was someone who died from COVID-19 last week. We have lost 1,311 lives to this virus. 57 new cases were also reported, and we learned of an 8th case of the B117 variant in Kern County. The variant is reportedly 50% more transmissible than COVID-19 alone, the original strain. State data shows there are 49 people in the hospital with COVID-19. 11 are in the ICU. Kern County had a head start, but now no matter where you are in California, as long as you're 16 years and older, you can sign up to get a vaccine. In the race against the variants, California leaders are hoping to get ahead after expanding vaccine eligibility to all adults yesterday. So far, more than 9.5 million Californians have been fully vaccinated and another 6.3 million partially. Officials say half of those eligible to get vaccinated have done so already. But Governor Gavin...
The expectation is, and this has been reinforced, that the manufactured supply by the end of the month will start to significantly increase, both for Moderna and Pfizer.
State leaders acknowledge although the state's positivity rate remains low, the variants are still a concern. The governor said 20% of California's cases in March were the UK variant, that B117, and 53% of them West Coast variants. If you live in Delano, Kaiser Permanente is bringing the vaccines to you. Tomorrow, Kaiser will be at Lavina Middle School to offer the Moderna vaccine to anyone 18 and older. They will accept walk-ins, but they encourage you to make an appointment because their supply is limited. Just call the number on your screen, 412-6701. The vaccine clinic is happening from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. And one of the easiest ways to sign up to get a vaccine is to go to the state's website, myturn.ca.gov. You can also call the number on your screen, 833-422-4255. In a sign that Kern County is slowly returning to normal, Village Flea is coming back this weekend. Village Flea is a large-scale flea market held twice a year at Pioneer Village at the Kern County Museum. The event had to be canceled in 2020 because of the pandemic. But now you can browse through a display of antiques, collectibles, homemade crafts, and vintage goods. Plus, there's food, music, and more. It's happening this Sunday, 8 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Clinica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clinica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
Of body cam video showing a police officer shooting and killing a 13-year-old boy. The oversight agency investigating the incident continues to search for answers. And we do want to warn you, the video is disturbing to watch. NBC's Wendy Woolfolk has more.
Stop! Stop right now! Hands! Show me your hands! Stop it! Stop it!
What began as a foot chase ends in tragedy.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Get an ambulance!
Despite the officer's attempt to save 13-year-old Adam Toledo, he died in the early morning hours of March 29th.
It don't matter what he was doing, what time it was at night. They should not have killed him.
Stop it! Stop it!
While still frames of the video show the teenager's hands raised at the time he was shot, it's not clear if he was ever carrying a gun. But police say they did recover one just behind the fence at the scene.
I can't tell you with 100% certainty until I have that video forensically analyzed and enhanced. But it is not relevant because he tossed the gun. If he had a gun, he tossed it.
The victim's family allowed to see the video before releasing it to the public.
No parent should ever have a video broadcast widely of their child's last moments. Much less be placed in a terrible situation of losing their child in the first place.
Pleading for calm.
If this don't get you angry, this is a 13-year-old boy. I was in tears.
While the investigation continues. Wendy Woolfolk, NBC News.
Meantime, both the defense and the prosecution have now rested in the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin in the death of George Floyd. Yesterday, Chauvin told the judge he would not take the stand on his behalf. Court will reconvene on Monday morning when both sides will present their closing arguments. In state news this morning, after being closed for more than a year due to the coronavirus pandemic, Universal Studios Hollywood will reopen today. The park opened for season pass holders yesterday and will open for the general public today, according to park officials. Most rides will be operational, but some attractions will remain closed to comply with COVID-19 health restrictions. Only in-state residents will be permitted.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back in your 17 Business Watch, and the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits dropped sharply last week. The latest report indicates the labor market is starting to heat up as governments lift restrictions on businesses. 576,000 people filed for unemployment benefits last week. That is the lowest number since the beginning of the pandemic. The decrease in claims is further proof that the labor market is continuing to improve as more Americans are getting vaccinated, and businesses are filling positions left empty during the shutdown and the economic slowdown. In the midst of the vaccine rollout, the Better Business Bureau and Federal Trade Commission are warning again about another surge in scams. Officials are also investigating fraud related to the vaccine. NBC's Liz McLaughlin explains.
I just got my first shot today.
For many Americans,
Did it hurt? Nope, not at all.
a COVID-19 vaccine is a ray of hope for the return of normalcy.
1, 2, 3, here we go.
But the urgency of seeking a shot can make consumers trigger happy on vaccine-related phishing traps sent by scammers, often through a text with a malicious link.
The general goal of these scams is people want to get your personal information or they want to get money from you.
Officials stress that you should never have to pay for a shot or a place in line.
We want to remind everyone that this is a safe, free vaccine.
But some Americans are hesitant.
I don't want to be nobody's guinea pig.
As discussions begin around requiring proof of a vaccine for access to concerts, conferences, and even some countries, fake vaccine cards and passports are starting to pop up for sale online.
Vaccine passports seem to go for a couple of $100. And when you're, again, talking about what is a paper artifact, it actually is fairly easy to fake those things.
With no federal system to authenticate the CDC's vaccination cards, the fakes are hard to spot. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services and the FBI are investigating the growing trend.
What you're doing is you're exposing other people, and you should care about other people, not just yourself and your needs.
But officials hope the accelerating pace of vaccinations will slow the pace of related scams. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.